An essential step in that process is to examine the events that so painfully divided our campus during the spring of 2024 and engage in a deliberate effort towards reconciliation and repair, so we may turn polarization into pluralism. I pledge to continue to listen to you as we work together to restore and reaffirm the bonds that define a true community. At a time when many voices question the value of universities, I submit that our value is indivisible from our values. The values that I enumerated at the outset of this address should be our beacon as we navigate the turbulent waters of higher education. We must make sure that they are not a mere declaration of good intentions, but a guide to the way we connect to each other in everyday encounters, so that we may value both our differences and our common sense of purpose. There are 2 points on which I am sure we can all agree. First, by recognizing the inherent dignity of every human being, we must actively prevent and combat discrimination. Nobody on our campus should feel unsafe because of who they are or what they believe in. Remember that when one group becomes the target of bigotry, no one is safe. This is why we have launched a comprehensive initiative to combat antisemitism, which is an essential element of our determination to end all forms of prejudice and intolerance on our campus. We should respect each person's right to embrace all dimensions of their identity. At the same time, we must avoid the corrosive tendency to see people solely through identity-based categories, assuming that they are uniformly alike within those groups and losing sight of their individuality. Such distortions flatten individual identities and lead to rejecting entire groups as the other. This is the ultimate form of dehumanization. History teaches us that stigmatization of groups, if left unchecked, has led to the worst atrocities. Fortunately, most members of our community share a common ground of empathy and kindness to connect with each other beyond the confines of faceless categories. Second, we should agree that in a university, the way to process differences is through reason and dialogue, not hate and violence. Good universities not only tolerate, but cultivate diversity of thought. They stand against dogma, conformity, and indoctrination. We can disagree passionately, even vehemently, but always respectfully. Respect begins by never dismissing opposite perspectives, but instead listening to them and engaging in dialogue across differences. Creating the space for such engagement is one of the key roles that universities play as social institutions. To that end, I am announcing the launch of a series of campus community conversations. This will be a participatory process to build consensus around the fundamental questions of our coexistence. What does each of us owe to fellow members of our community? And what can each of us expect from fellow members of our community? By undertaking this kind of conversation, we will provide a valuable service not only to our university and higher education, but to society as a whole at this time of extreme polarization. After my initial listening exercise, I have concluded that the majority of us want to be part of such a conversation. In doing so, we can become an exemplary institution. As your new Chancellor, I commit to engage passionately with everyone so that together we can restore connective relationships to all in our community. For me, this work is profoundly personal. The defining moment of my life happened when my paternal grandparents were forced to leave Germany in the 1930s, along with their 2 children, my father, who was 6 years old, and his sister, who was 4. A series of coincidences took them to Mexico, a nation that was poorer in material wealth, but richer in what mattered the most then and now: kindness to strangers. It is relatively easy to be kind to people we know, but it is much harder to be kind to people who are different. Yet it was such kindness that saved my family's life and made my own life possible. Like all my siblings and cousins, I was brought up with a sense of duty to reciprocate kindness to strangers. As a result, we have all devoted our careers to public service through science, medicine, music, and education. This has been the pathway that brings me to you today. I am proud to be the first Latino Chancellor of UCLA. Me siento orgulloso de ser el primer rector latino de la UCLA. While we are all proud of our respective heritages, we must also acknowledge that each of us holds diverse identities. The resolve to stand against the external forces of discrimination and intolerance can be strengthened if we embrace our own inner diversity. In this way, we can counter an exclusionary definition of the others and find true connection, not only with those we know, but especially with those we do not know, with people who may be strangers, but are not strange to our common humanity. Each of us is all of us. Exemplary universities must demonstrate to the larger world that such an enlightened pathway is indeed possible. I commit to serve this university as everyone's chancellor